his tefillin. It's very exciting.
Baruch Hashem. Yeah, we have our first bar mitzvah in May. No, this is
Cookies?
Tuvia. Yeah.
It's gonna be here.
Just Hanachas Tefillin is going to be here right after Pesach,
Like,
and
does
then
that text to me for something,
right.
breakfast or something,
I don't think you can. They're going to have too many people. Yeah,
because if it's under, it'll be over.
yeah. Okay. I figured because this halacha is brought in Orach Chaim, the halacha that we've been learning, which is about avoiding partnerships with idolaters. It actually, and then we saw the Ramah say that many people are lenient in this regard, especially when you live so prevalently among people who are considered by some poskim to be idolaters, and especially when these people are for non-Jews, it's not considered idolatry, and therefore there's no, and especially because we don't swear today, we don't impose an oath in the name of a particular deity. Therefore, for so many reasons, the poskim are lenient. But we've never really covered this particular sif in Orach Chaim, which is all about the laws of Choshen Mishpat. There's one siman in Orach Chaim which deals with, in very brief, it deals with Choshen Mishpat issues. And what is that? What is that? It says, because it's in the second chelik in the Mishnah Berurah, meaning it's like the Mishnah Berurah, of course, goes according to the Shulchan Aruch, and the Shulchan Aruch discusses what you do when you wake up in the morning, then the laws of tefillah, then the laws of davening, um, uh, and then when tefillah ends, what are you supposed to do? Well, you go to work. And so there's a siman devoted to get out of the house and go to work, okay? And because any Torah that is not accompanied with derech eretz, with going out and making a living, is doomed to failure. So that's really what it's just one sif in the entire siman. Achar kach yelech la'asakav. Afterwards, after tefillah is over, go to work. D'chol Torah she'eni ma'malacha sofa b'tela v'goreres ava. Because any Torah that is not accompanied by work will eventually, can you see this, or is it too small? You can see it okay? Sofa betela vigoreris avam. It eventually will be lost. And
Rabbi, I can't see it at all.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's so small.
That's very helpful
Yeah,
that you shared that with us. Okay. Thank you, Shmuel. Okay. There, that should be visible to you now. Okay. You got it?
I got it. Yep.
And I can actually make the font bigger when I go to options. And let's see. Let's see. Display. Hebrew font. We'll go to 20. Let's see if that does anything. There we go. All right, read line 7. Okay, no. Okay.
Imagine going to a from doctor, it is optometrist. You read the first line.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Ki ha'oni ya'avirenu al das kono, because poverty causes a person to rebel against his creator. So therefore, don't allow yourself to enter into poverty. If you do so, you're committing an avera. Umikol makom lo yasim malachto iker ela arai v'taraso keva v'zevazeh yiskayim biyada. But do not allow your work to become the main part of your life, but rather it should be happenstance. It should be something that is incidental, whereas the Torah is the main thing of your life. And in this way, both will be successful. V'yisa v'yitain be'emuna. engage in business with faith, meaning be honest. V'yizaher milahasker shem shamayim levatala. Be careful not to invoke Hashem's name for naught. Shebichol makom shahaskaras Hashem mitzuya misa mitzuya. Because whenever the God's name is frivolously invoked, death is frivolously invoked. V'yizaher milishava afilu be'emes, and you should be very careful from taking an oath, even when the oath is completely true. She'elef ayaros hayu liyanai hamelech, v'kulam nechrevu b'shvil shahayu nishpoim shvuos, afal pi shahayu mekaimim osam. Because King Yanai had 1,000 cities, and they were all destroyed because people in those cities used to take oaths, even when they would fulfill the oaths, but they were unnecessary. And therefore, it's better not to take an oath. And that's the basis for why even Beis Din today doesn't impose oaths. V'yizaher milihishtatef hakusim, be careful not to engage in business, not to enter into partnerships with non-Jews. Shema yischayv lo shvua va'over mishum lo yishamal picha. Because in the course of doing business, he may have to take an oath, and you will be the cause of that, and then you'll violate the law of do not allow idolatry to be heard because of your mouth. Okay? And then the Rama says, V'yesh mekilin ba'asiya shutfus imakusim bizman hazeh. There are those who are lenient in doing business with Gentiles nowadays. Mishum she'ein hakusim bizman hazeh nishmoim ba'avodas elilim. Because today they don't swear using their idolatry. The afal-gav demaskirin ha'avodah zarah, and even though many times they will invoke the name of their idolatry, mikol makom kavanasam la'osei shamayim va'aretz. Their thinking is the creator of heaven and earth. Ela shem mishatfim shem shamayim v'davar acher. But they are guilty of what's called shituf, where they attribute their deity to be the same God as ours, creator of heaven and earth, but they also assign to that God different components. This is what we were learning yesterday. And therefore, you're not in any way causing him to sin, because there is no prohibition for a Gentile to engage in this belief. The Rambam apparently disagrees with this, but this is the psak of the Rama. V'laseis imoim below shutfus, l'kuli al mishari below yom chageim. Now, to do business with them outside of the context of a formal partnership arrangement, just to buy and sell, everyone agrees that that's permissible, as long as it's not on the day itself of their holy day. Now, that could be every Sunday. And so there was a tradition not to do business with Goyim on Sunday. Businesses were closed on Sunday. Sundays used to be a very holy day for Christians.
Yes.
Stores there were closed.
Yeah.
We had a years in Toronto, we had a very big issue about opening stores on Sunday.
Yeah.
It was
Paul Bagder first.
It was a
Yeah.
Yid who was fighting it.
Paul Bagder.
Yeah, the lines in the firm store downtown.
Yeah.
No, there was a Ontario statute.
They're called-
the Lord's Day.
Yeah, they're called blue laws in the
Yeah.
United
Yeah.
States. Yeah.
But it took a long time.
Took a
People
long.
got fined, they had police going around and finding the stores. that were-
And then you used to have like a little part of your store could be open, like a few aisles and not the rest.
Really interesting.
Strange laws.
You're
But
talking
that-
probably 40 years ago.
No, not quite that long. No, I don't think so. Maybe 21. And even to this day, that's why you can park on the street free till 1 o'clock on Sunday. All the downtown streets are like no fines for parking till 1, because it was to allow the Christians to
go to church.
and park.
Interesting.
I mean, when was Shmuel? When was it stopped? When did they stop this?
I don't know what year. I don't know that it was uniformly done. It could be.
Because Alexander Yanai is again is the time of the second base of Mikdash.
Yes. So this is.
This is like, what are we talking about here?
I don't think it was stopped until the Middle Ages. So, but they point to this as a reason not to avoid taking
It's
shvuas.
also very successful in terms of land. I don't know, what are they talking about here that we lost?
I don't know. I don't
know what
remember
this
the
is.
Gemara. I don't remember the particular Gemara that this is referring to. We'd have to look it up. But yeah,
Also, the laws that are pertaining to partnership. I can see everything coming into play here for those who take a more stringent view about doing a business with Gentiles is with selling your business, because then you have, when you sell your business to a goy, you have to, there's certain provisions that you have to promise that are gonna be there in order to maximize the price of the sale. So you're almost like you could be taking oaths that way too.
yeah.
There's provisions.
Selling a house to a bunch of.
There's nothing wrong with selling your house to a non-Jew. We did see that if you live first of all, we did see in our studies in Choshen Mishpat that if you have an option of selling it to a Jew or a goy, and there's not a huge price differential, you should try to always do business first with a Jew over a non-Jew. But there are other considerations. Let's say by selling my house to a non-Jew, we also learned about if you live in an apartment building and the apartment building is comprised of a certain element, you're not allowed to change the element that exists within that building neighborhood.
Even the type of Jew.
Even the type of Jew, if it's going to create a disruption in the lives of the other people. So there's a lot to take into consideration, but at the end of the day, you are allowed to sell your house to a non-Jew if there's no other buyers on the market.
Or if it's differential price.
What is that differential? It's a $20,000 difference.
The poskim don't give a specific number. They don't give a number. But as they said, it's a non-significant amount.
They don't come
So,
up with
yeah.
a sixth.
Right. No.
All this just stems from what is always say, stay away from going, don't do that. It's all about their
Yeah, I mean, and it's important to know when these halachas are being written, when anti-Semitism is rampant and Jews are persecuted, and they don't have the same business opportunities as non-Jews. And then also there's a concern that there may be some level of assimilation. So all of those are taken into play when this halacha is written.
Is there anything else other than that?
What do you mean?
They're going, just because they're Muslims are going, like how much of this that we've always discussed in this room about halacha or dealing with non-Jews, how much of it really is the actual avodah zarah or leads to mixed dancing or those ones versus, we just don't intrinsically we don't.
There is no such basis in halacha.
Okay.
There's no such basis in halacha, and not only that, but the Rambam in particular holds that there is no difference intrinsically between a Jew and a non-Jew.
Right. The
neshamas
are not.
Yeah, the neshamas
are not for that.
Right. Correct. In Chassidus, it's much more pronounced.
But it's just in straight halacha that we're, Ramah, Aruch HaShulchan, Rambam.
Yeah, the concern is avodah zarah. That's right.
It just seems the obsession is, we see the Torah as well. The obsession with the avodah zarah is like obsessive.
Because
Well, in today's eyes.
Right,
About
but
that.
then it was I guess throughout those times, it's important.
Look,
It's one of the three.
the Bible is the most revolutionary document ever composed in human history. Okay, it completely upended centuries of human behavior, and particularly religious behavior. And so when you put it in that context, and you understand, therefore, that Hashem says, don't enter into any kind of idolatrous practices, because it's just going to bring you back down in that mire, in that mud of the way the world was before I gave you this Torah. Okay? So, which is human sacrifice and believing in superstitious behaviors, of, killing a bat and mixing it with the eye of newt, and doing all of these other things,
Problem is, the world is mired in secularism.
yeah,
Right? I mean, it's not idolatry that's causing
It's not-
problems.
it's not
not
idolatry.
any-
right, right.
Well, I would say that idolatry today has different forms.
You could say idolatry as
Today,
in
money
making idols of
And
people,
different things have taken the form of what we focus on.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
social
Right,
media
right.
idols and all those things.
So the concerns today are not the same concerns that existed when the Torah is first being given to humankind, right? And so that's why the emphases are different, but the principles are still very much
I think it's
prevalent.
important to always mention that. It's, as one, as you're saying, is intrinsically don't do business with them, or versus and don't swear with them, or whatever the situation is.
Yeah, I
versus-
mean, you clearly see from the text that the concern is that either there's going to be a technical problem of you participating in someone invoking their idolatry, or this is all about shavua, and you should have, and that's the reason why you should avoid doing business with them. But if that's not a concern, then the Rama says you have a right to be lenient. So let's take a look at the Mishnah Berurah. At least we'll start the Mishnah Berurah, because the Mishnah Berurah quotes the Magen Avram here and other Achronim who use this one little sif in Siman Kuf Nun Vav to remind us of all of the everyday halachas that we have to observe that are either Choshen Mishpat related or Yoredeya related, that have to do with going and faithfully going through your business day. So the Mishnah Berurah writes, Yelech la'asakav, v'hanhagas ha'adam tzarech lios ha'kol b'derech hamitzua. Everything a person does has to be middle, has to be with going the middle path. Lo yikametz yoter midai, v'lo yifazer yoter midai. Don't be overly stingy and don't be overly generous. V'chein b'chol hamidos, and the same thing is true with all the types of character traits. Rak hagaiva v'hakas yitrachek mehem ad ketsei ha'acharon. There are only two character traits that you have to go to the extreme in avoiding them. One is arrogance or ego, and the other one is anger. Those two, you have to go to the extreme. Don't try to find the middle road between being sometimes angry and sometimes not angry. Don't find the middle road between humble and full of yourself. Always go to the extreme of calmness and humility.
That's straight out of the Rambam.
Oh yeah. Chamosha Amar Hatana Ma'od Havei Shafal Ruach. As the Tana in Mishnah in the Pirkei Avos says, be very, very humble. V'chein bekas hisiru chazal harbe aleh. And when it comes to anger, the rabbis are very careful to warn us not to lose our temper. Anyone who loses their temper is like as if they're committing avodah zarah. Okay, and make your Torah study ikar and your business the less of the priority. Eliyasa rakadei parnasaso, work in order to earn a living. Ach bazegufa tzarich lihizar mipitu hayetzer. But you have to be very careful about the seduction of the evil inclination. She mifatehu, that seduces us into thinking that this is my livelihood. If I don't work the extra 10 hours, I'm not going to be able to support my family. Shekol hayom tzarich hishtadlus al harvacha zu. A person's going to be seduced to think that I need the entire day to be able to make the profits that I need. And I don't have time for anything else. The ha'ikar sheyizbonin ba'atzlo, mahu hechrecha amiti she'i efshar bilado. And the main thing he says is, think to yourself honestly, what do I really need in life that I can't live without? Okay, va'az yacholi yitkayem biyado sheyehi malachto arai v'toraso ikar. And in that way, you'll be able to fulfill this principle that your work is the second priority and your Torah is your first priority. Because if you constantly ask yourself the question, do I really need to make the extra 50 grand? Right? Then by being honest with yourself and sort of just saying, okay, do I have enough? If I don't go ahead with this business, I have to make a calculus. I can either pursue this other opportunity, but then it means that I'm going to have to miss Daf Yomi for the next 6 months, or I can forego this opportunity. I'll be okay. I just won't, be flush, but I'll still be okay. And I can still learn every single day.
Most people, they either have a full-time job or a part-time job in our world today. So if you're a full-time job, most of your hours are going to your work. And you have an hour in the morning, you have an hour at night or whatever. That's the reality of what most Balabatim are dealing with.
Correct. That is the reality. But there are businesses that are more flexible. There are plenty of people in even within our circles who have set up their businesses over decades long of trying to make things work, that they are in a position where they can spend half the day learning and half the day working.
You talk about business owners and there's
Business owners, yeah.
Yeah, but the majority of people work for people, and then they're bound to a schedule.
Correct.
Especially if you're a younger family, you need to maximize your dollars behind the cost of living today. So you're sort of forced to spend that extra time or effort.
Well, it depends. It depends on the industry. It depends on the person. But it should always be with the attitude, I'm working so that I can learn.
What is
Not,
the
yeah,
focus?
yeah.
So those who are serious, like us, who are here at 6 o'clock in the morning, whatever, and the people, and then at night you have a Seder. I mean, maybe.
But that's not the
something
focus is that Torah should be your focus, even if you're not you're working 8 hours and you're only learning 2 hours. Your mindset should not be that I am obsessive with work. You have to do it because you have to do it. But I have another question. We just said the Aruch HaShulchan that you have to, we keep seeing this throughout Torah. You see that you have to make a parnasa. So how, and I know, isn't there like a shachar, a taz that says today you can, because of how Torah is, you can sit and learn all day and people should support you. Like, how does a kollel life justify? We keep seeing with the Rambam, you saw now the Aruch HaShulchan. Where is the?
I was waiting for that question.
But I know there's something, I remember, am I wrong on something, but a shachar?
No, there's a Rambam. There's a Rambam that says that if a person chooses, I mean, there may be a Shach and Taz also, but if the Rambam says that anyone has a right to make himself into a Levi and to spend his entire life dedicated to Torah, right? It's at the end of Hilchos Shemitah, because the Rambam talks about the social structure that the biblical society sets up, that one tribe out of all the 12 tribes is meant to dedicate themselves full time to religious service. And so therefore they're freed from agricultural responsibilities, from work responsibilities, and they live off the tithes of the rest of the people. And then the Rambam writes, every Jew can say, I want to be a Levi. I want to be part of that tribe. And I will therefore I will therefore spend my whole day learning Torah and dedicated to the religious needs of my community. And I will live off of the tithes of the community. Right. But, okay, you have to, there's a lot of qualifications there. Number one, I have to view myself as providing for the rest of Am Yisrael, just like the Levium. They're there to minister they're ministers. They're ministering unto the rest of the nation by dedicating their lives to Torah study, and it has to be done seriously. So that's the basis for many people to say that you can even make a career out of full-time Torah study. But it's not so easy for a person to make that calculation and say, that's what I'm going to dedicate my life to. Look, Klal Yisrael will always need its educators and its, and its rabbis to help lead the religious needs of the community. But those people are providing services to the community. The question is, what about the people who aren't interested in providing religious services. They just want to sit and learn.
So,
You find that that's becoming less and less prevalent in our world today. In other words, certainly in North America, in Canada, the Kollel policy here is you spend X number of years in Kollel to perfect your learning and to fill your stomach with a particular set of knowledge, and then you're out. Like in Kollel or Yosef, typically they're there for 3 years and then you're out. Some guys may stay a few years longer, but then you're out and you got to either get a job as a teacher or get a job in the private sector. But they're not and I think that's a wonderful thing. I mean, that should be the policy.
Like you have a rich farm.
Unless you have a rich father-in-law. But that's, but this idea of making yourself a ward of the Jewish community is something that you can do if you feel that you're an exceptional Ben Torah, but it's not an easy
the
decision.
exceptions should be learning because they are the exceptions.
The ones who are exceptional
should
should become part of that tribe of Levi. Yeah.
But the problem is, I think the problem is not so much here in North America or in Choshen, it's in Israel. That every Tom, Dick, and Harry, and uncle thinks that they should be supported.
Yeah.
They're gonna sit in Koil all day and I mean, that's really, I think, is the discussion.
Right. And it's
Changing there too.
it's changing.
I think it's
changing. Yeah.
They're getting more educated, they're getting into the things, nothing happens overnight.
It's changing out of necessity because the
It won't
the Haredi community itself recognizes that it's not sustainable.
Robert, when you say join the tribe of Levi, you don't, that doesn't literally mean that you can be called up to the Torah for a Levi, right?
You
Correct.
can't be MacGyver, like,
Correct,
I
yeah,
can become a
right.
Kayan.
Right. It's the Rambam speaking figuratively. Yeah. Although did I ever tell you that story about I did a bris once for a non-Orthodox family. And I always ask, are you a Cohen, Levi, or Yisrael? So the guy says to me, he was, he's a Reformed Jew. But he said, I'm a Yisrael, but my brother is a Levi. So he said, no, he said,
Father?
no, he says, my brother is the president of his conservative temple. And he felt that, for someone of his stature, he shouldn't just settle for being a Yisrael. And he felt that becoming a Kohen was a little bit too chutzpahdik. So he decided to make himself a Levi.
Well,
Yeah.
Now he'll pass that down to his son.
Yeah.
He said that with a straight face.
Said it with totally straight face. Totally straight face.
It's the guy asked the guy, "Are you a coin or a Levi?" He goes, "No, I'm a shishi."
I'm a shishi. That's right. Okay, let us go on. So what did the Shulchan Aruch say? It says as long as you make your Torah study primary and your work secondary, you'll succeed in both endeavors. And the reason is ki ein ma'atzor laHashem lahoshia baravu b'ma'at v'yishlach lo bracha b'maaseh yadav. Nothing stopping God from being able to step in and provide you with great success financially. And therefore, dedicate yourself as that your primary goal is to be, is for learning and work around that. Okay. And then Hashem will take care of the rest. And the next thing that the Mishnah Berurah comments on is you should engage in business faithfully. Hainu, what does that mean? Shelo yimatzei b'isko shum gezel v'tarnis. He says that there should be not found in any of your business any kind of thievery or deceit.
What word is tarmas?
From the word ramai,
Cheater.
Deception, yeah. V'gam al zeh sholim lo la'adam b'shas hadin kamo she'amru Chazal. And this is the first question that they're going to ask a person when he gets up to the Olam HaEmes after 120 years. Nasata v'nasata be'amuna. Did you engage in business faithfully, honestly? Were you honest in business? V'hinei, so now the Mishnah Berurah goes into really this citing from the Magen Avram. He says, Yesh kama mitzvos tidirios, asan v'lavin shemutolos al ha'adam la'asos v'lizar ben b'chol eis. He says there are constant mitzvos, both positive and negative, that are incumbent upon a person to engage in every single day. But ve'enan muvaos b'hashulchan aruch. They're not actually itemized by the Machaber in the Shulchan Aruch. The Kama mehen ha'etikan ha'Magen Avram v'divrei ha'Rambam u'shari ha'Rishonim. The Magen Avram on this siman brings many of them down from the Rambam and other Rishonim. V'chein kama hanhagos tovos hamuzkarim b'divrei Chazal. And he also brings a lot of proper practices, good practices that our sages make reference to. We're going to have to hold it here for today, but when I return from my trip, let's make it a priority to try and study this stuff, okay? Because it's a lengthy Mishnah Berurah where he talks about all of these daily mitzvahs that we can all do. Okay, we'll hold it here for today. Let me wish you a good Shabbos, and I'll be back in Mirz Hashem. Should be December 10th.
So 11th will be the next class?
No. I get back the night of December